We're here with Jakob Eliason, co-founder of Pickleball Pop-Ups. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and we're really excited to hear your story and to be able to showcase what you're trying to do in the pickleball space right now.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I love talking about pickleball, and I certainly love talking about my pickleball business. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. So let's just jump right into the business side. What brought you into the pickleball space? It's like the Wild West right now, right? So would love to hear what brought you into the space, and then how that's maybe been different from some of your other business ventures or some of the other spaces that you've inhabited over your years.
And what is Pickleball Pop-Ups? Like, what is the business too?
Awesome. So I will tell you the story of how I got to sitting right here doing this, because it all really intertwines. And so, as you can tell from the shirt I'm wearing, we're based here in Memphis, Tennessee. And so the original first conceptualization of business idea was kind of how most people default to, and that's, hey, there's not an indoor pickleball facility here in Memphis or in the suburbs yet. Like, how do we get in on that? And Adam Clay, who is my business partner, he actually came to me. We'd been golf buddies for 4 or 5 years. I'd worked with his younger brother in an earlier life, and we'd stayed golf buddies throughout that. And we'd always talked shop about B2B marketing and sales. B2B marketing, that's my past. And I've done corporate and outside sales before too, but he had been in software sales and been very successful for a long time. And so we just had a lot of synergy in what we were interested in and what our careers were doing at the time. And so he reached out to me about coming in and helping him build out a marketing plan, basically, for this indoor facility idea that he had. He'd lost a lot of weight playing pickleball. He was getting active, getting healthy, and loving it. And then I was just like, I want in. Like, I don't want you to just pay me to consult you. Like, I want to do this. And so we kind of joined forces as partners, and that's where it all started. So that's what Pickleball 901 is. 901 is the Memphis area code. We have an 8-court indoor facility. The 9th court, we started with 9, and now the 9th court is part of our warehouse for Pickleball Pop-Ups because that's growing so big. And so we actually did come through with the indoor facility. And that is alive and well in Collierville, Tennessee. But what happened in the meantime was we were staring down the path that lots of people that are trying to get into pickleball facilities stare down, which is like the real estate path, which is finding the right location, negotiating the right lease, figuring out how to, how much money we're about to spend to try to pull this off is kind of what it ultimately looks like. And that process was going to take 12 to 18 months, whether we liked it or not, from idea to doors opening. And so we said, what do we do in the meantime? We'd already announced the brand. We were telling people we were coming. We were so excited. And we got the idea to throw pop-up pickleball parties at bars and restaurants and breweries around Memphis. And we used it all just to build our brand and to raise awareness for the club that we was going to open in a year. And we just wanted to go ahead and start getting things moving and try to figure out how to make some money in a different way. And that turned into Pickleball Pop-Ups, which is now like the leading provider in the United States of like temporary pickleball experiences. It's exclusively what we do, whether it's 1 day, 1 week, or 1 year or 5 years. We kind of specialize in this ability to turn an empty space into a premium pickleball spot quickly and can remove if necessary. And so the parties around town that we threw with the portable courts helped us build an operation and build a logistical operation around figuring out how to get this stuff and staff and execution from point A to point B. We started getting organic demand from corporate America and the trade show events world on wanting to bring pickleball courts to these big events. And so we just kind of it was right time to be at the right time, building the right team. And now we are just absolutely slammed. And so now Pickleball Pop-Ups goes all over the country. And we install, we deliver, we install, we activate, and then we remove, and we get the whole set out of there. Usually 1 to 2 courts in a 2 to 3 day time period. But often, some 4-hour evening event in Chicago or a week-long installation in a commercial real estate building or office building or something. So we're seeing a lot of different types of jobs. And we recently partnered with Pickle Roll, which is one of the court surfaces that we use most often. And so now we are a preferred installer and rental provider for them. And so now our calendar just filled up. The next 3 months filled up from, the last week. And so it's crazy, but we are literally just bringing pickleball anywhere.
That's amazing. Is there a common theme among your events? Like, is it corporate events, private? Are they pickleball conferences, or are they events that have nothing to do with pickleball, but they decide to have it as an activity?
It is mostly corporate. I would say 90% plus corporate. And again, that kind of leans towards our background, right? Like, we'd been doing trade shows and conferences and big corporate events forever through our jobs already. And that's what we were familiar with. And we knew they worked, but we knew that when we started doing the portable thing, we had one event reach out to us and we got linked with one trade show, and the light bulb kind of went off of how much of a synergy we had already being comfortable in that environment, being good at the business development side of engaging people at a trade show booth, and knowing how to do the happy hours and stuff like that, and advising the trade show on how to do that around the pickleball court. So it just kind of all, perfect group at the perfect opportunity. And we leaned into that during those 18 months that we were waiting on the club to open, and we're able to build two businesses kind of at once that both really started hitting their stride last July. And since then, we are growing rapidly.
That's amazing.
So coming from, you said that it was a golf buddy who, came to you about the pickleball itself. So how do you see the pickleball and golf space kind of either co-inhabiting, or, golf being known as a networking event? A lot of people go out onto the golf course for business deals or different items like that. How do you see that pickleball coming into the space and starting to maybe take over?
That's a great question. I do think it's going to take over. I mean, this is hilarious. I live on a golf course. I moved to the golf course before we started the business. I thought that I was going to play so much golf, and now I literally don't play because, I'm kind of busy, and it's hard to carve out 5 hours to go play around the golf. It's hard to carve out 2.5 to go play 9. And so, I've got a wife and a 3-year-old, and I love spending time with them on the weekends. And that just became difficult. And now pickleball enters the equation. You're like, I can have a really good time in 90 minutes and be so tired, be inside, now that we have this facility for sure. But, it just, and my friends want to be there. More of my friends want to be there, as opposed to the ones who don't go golf because golf is hard. And so I think pickleball checks a lot of boxes. We see in the corporate event landscape, doing trade shows and stuff, as you can imagine, the different skill levels that come out onto the court and play. We're almost like 90%, 95% of people that come out there and play at trade shows have never played pickleball before. So our staff is constantly, teaching people and getting them, into the game for the first time all day, and so, but the beauty of pickleball is one player being out there that knows the rules can they can self-regulate and make sure everybody knows. It's very welcoming, and it's very accessible. And so that makes it the perfect corporate engagement opportunity, because literally all your staff can play unless they're injured and can't walk. But even then, small courts or just little dink areas still allow for people to have fun and enjoy themselves. And that's what we hear most is wow, this was a great way for me to just let my hair down for 10 minutes in between all these meetings and keynotes and running around and no sleep, all that stuff. And so it's just, I don't exactly have any takes on where it's going to go or how big it'll be, but I do think we see firsthand, and judging by the demand that we're getting, I think it's pretty clear that pickleball is a great fit in corporate America, in any type of social environment or community environment. It doesn't, just have to be business. It is literally accessible for so many skill levels and ages that using it to bring any community together is probably a very smart idea. Just figuring out how to get real pickleball courts at scale with lots of them across to different places and installed. That is proving to be, I mean, it's just expensive, right? It's just not easy. And so, for a while to do these big giant activations, you're probably going to be stuck with tape down on the concrete. But hey, that's still that can still be a pickleball pop-up.
Yeah, I mean, even just last night we were out playing for a few hours, and the courts are just beyond packed. I mean, we have 6 courts locally, beautiful courts. People are sitting and waiting for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and people just keep coming. But like you said, it's a wonderful community builder. And I mean, you see more conversations happening out there than I've seen in any other sport, as far as demographics, age ranges, economic backgrounds. So it's this wonderful mixing pot of individuals that are on the court playing together. And like you said, skill levels as well, athletic backgrounds. You can lose weight from it. You can get in better shape from it. You really get whatever you want out of this sport.
Yeah. And I think it's a tremendous opportunity for local and regional governments basically to capitalize on, and we even here locally in Memphis where we've had conversations with the local, the Parks and Rec for the different areas that have pickleball courts. And they've historically struggled to figure out, is there even possible ways to make money off of our tennis courts, our baseball parks outside of the leagues and stuff? And now pickleball, how do we generate some revenue, not charging people to play forever, but, can you do programming? And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity for even the crowds for these local areas to monetize those areas even better than they are with putting restaurants around the courts or,
exactly.
Pop-up food stuff. I'm not talking about charging people to play. I'm like,
Right.
Do festivals, bring in vendors, sell sponsorships. There's all these opportunities because of the crowds, because the crowds are a good thing. I've always said that we're not out to create the most efficient pickleball operation on earth. To an extent, we're trying to draw a crowd. If there's 100 people waiting around a pickleball pop-up activation waiting to play, and there's vendors and there's food and there's beverage and there's commerce, that's a win. And so as long as you set the expectation of that, which we do by not making anybody pay to play on our courts at our activations, you're able to do that. You're able to draw a crowd and people don't get mad, and you can monetize the halo effect that brings. And we do a lot of that through our clients selling sponsorships and branding the entire experience, so that the 10,000 people that walk by and take the picture compared to the 150 people that play that day because of capacity on the court, it's able to go really, really far regardless of how many people can step on the court. So it's just it's an interesting phenomenon in the corporate space.
Yeah, I mean, I know our energy drink sales must have spiked tremendously for our local court alone.
Yeah.
let alone any other food items. But I know that we're, especially our groups out there, bringing energy drinks by the ton just from the local areas that are around that court. And so, I mean, it's really benefited the local economy here, and it's great to see. I mean, it's just a win-win for everybody.
And you bring people together, and that's just one of those things. It's so that we need more than ever. And so every time I'm in our facility or every time I'm at the local courts, I mean, I don't mind waiting because I know it's ultimately a good thing. It's good problems. You learn to distinguish between good problems and bad problems in business. And as long as the problems continue to be good ones and ones that we'd prefer to have over the alternative, I'm going to keep a smile on my face about it.
And business can take place while people are waiting. The conversations just blossom. The whole vibe at a pickleball court, whether you're on the court or on the sidelines, is just really positive and welcoming. So conversations will flourish, whether it's socially at the park or professionally at these corporate events.
You are absolutely correct. In fact, I was making a comment to one of the guys on my team, Connor. We were in San Diego. We had put 2 courts out on the terrace of the convention center. And so we had a full week of pickleball overlooking the bay with all these yachts, and it was crazy. And so, but I told him, I was like, I've never seen a group of people finish playing at one of these events and not share business cards.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even, you go to a networking event and everyone's like, what do you do? What do you do? Let me get your card. Let me get your card. And this was they played pickleball and beat the hell out of the ball back and forth for 20 minutes at each other, got frustrated a little bit when they lost. And then they were like, yeah, I want to stay in touch with you. Not I want to do business with you. And so it just kind of, again, it's a phenomenon because it brings kind of like a different angle on engagement. It's not, it's very authentic and healthy too.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our interviews we had with Lee Whitwell, she was stating that, she thinks the phenomenon is exploding like it is because it's like we're kids again. And people have really missed that. It's a sport where you kind of feel like you're just out to play. You're playing, you're having fun. And, the synergies between being a kid, having fun and playing with your friends and business is very hand in hand. I mean, just like you said, if you're out having fun on a court and you want to stay in contact with that person, that's a relationship that you can foster that can turn into so much more right off the bat in a few months, in a year. You have no idea.
Yeah, the business will follow later.
Oh, absolutely. We have always, since we even started with the idea of the indoor facility, we saw kind of a spectrum on like if you look at pickleball as a spectrum from a business standpoint. On one side, you've got kind of like the competitive, like that's the trajectory. It's kind of competitive, maybe the only best word to describe it. And the other side, you've got like social fitness. And we have always been like, we're staying on that side. We have music playing loud, like mega hits playing loud at our club all the time. And we don't get noise complaints from it because I think we have a magic building, but we just like don't have all the noise problems that everybody says is an issue. But like at our events, we got a Bluetooth speaker sitting up and we're playing music. Like we're out there having fun. We'll play with the foam ball in a sport court because we're just trying to have a good time. We want the happy hour to be around it. So like we lean into that play. There's a lot of data around play, like bringing play into work effectively. And so between what we're seeing with apartment complexes and even business parks putting pickleball courts on campus for their tenants to play, bringing them to corporate events, and the executives that are at the events wanting them at their house, like, I think that is a positive trend. And if all of the data around play and stress relief and all of that stuff is correct, then the more pickleball we can get into corporate America, the more productivity that we can likely see, maybe the less turnover that we start to see business, and so I'm not saying there's a direct correlation to business results from pickleball, but I'm also saying there might be.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, there is that segment that's the highly competitive side, but it's such a small segment of where the growth of the sport is and where a business-minded person might want to focus on, and that's that social aspect.
Right. And so we find 10%, 12% of the people who play at our events are like competitive players. And funny enough, they're often the ones that like, they're looking, they're inspecting the court, they want it to be perfect. When they realize that, maybe in a situation where you're just out there for like 10 minutes playing with a group of four instead of like playing a real game, it's very easy to spot from a mile away, the competitive folks that are coming in, and it's fun. So we have a premium court surface in our business, and we also have we use the interlock and sport court stuff when we're trade shows and company parking lots in places where the surface is unknown for the most part. We try to protect the court, and so we have modified balls and paddles and things like that we can use to make sure you get the bounce. And then but for our premier events, we partner with Pickle Roll, and so we have that tournament grade surface, so you're coming out there and it's like you just stepped onto a real pickleball court that you never even thought was possible, which is generally the consensus feedback of people at events who see us for the first time. It's like, whoa, they'll come up, we'll have people come up and be like, I heard that was a pickleball court, but like I thought it was like permanently like at the resort at the conference. I didn't realize that it was even possible to put one in the middle of the trade show floor. and so that's one of the fun parts about my job is people actually do come up and they're like amazed by it, whether they know about pickleball or not. And then if they don't, we're able to get them into the most fun game in the world pretty quickly. And then they come back 3 or 4 times the rest of the show. And, we make a new friend. They create a new hobby. They go tell those are the people that'll go tell and call the conference and say, you got to bring those people back. Which is now like, that's kind of the phase that we're entering in, is we're starting to really get our repeat business for the first time. Last 12 to 18 months, this is like round one for us figuring a lot of this out. And now we're coming into like second year where a lot of the events that hired us last year are reaching back out and we're booking them again for this year, which is, that was one of the things at the beginning of our business. We said could be a risk. What happens if everything's one and done and you're chasing everything? But we're starting to see that, yeah, there is absolutely continuity here. These events liked it the first time. They want to make it come back. They want it to be a regular thing. And so we're just thrilled to be like at the epicenter of that. And my team is fantastic. We could not do the level of effort that my team puts in to make this stuff happen is mind blowing to me, that we have so many people that believe in what we're doing. And so, and hell, it's a whole lot of fun. Like the last week I went with 4 guys over to Las Vegas and we spent the week at the Bitcoin conference, and it's just like 9 to 5, we're playing pickleball with people, 5 until bed. We have the world is ours, And so it's just fun to be able to not only take people that are working hard to these enjoyable venues and enjoyable events and experiences, but to also, they're my friends, and so or they become my friends if I don't know them before they start working, because we spend so much time together. So it's a real close group. But we are growing, and so we'll probably be announcing some hiring application stuff here in the next few weeks, as we have taken on a gigantic partnership that is we got to have a bigger team, need a bigger boat, and so we're excited. The future is bright for pickleball. It's not going anywhere, and it seems like corporate America. I mean, I don't think that we've really hit the acceleration point for corporate America yet. I think it's a little delayed. And so we are kind of riding the eye of the hurricane, figuring all this out for the next huge wave, I think, from that side. As the first big boom was in getting all these big permanent facilities out, I think the real estate, generally there's less real estate for it. And so people are going to be looking for alternative solutions, alternative real estate, alternative court surfaces, as opposed to painting stuff down. And we are right here waiting to handle all of it.
So obviously it hasn't been that long that you guys have been out here doing this. You said like 12 to 18 months. You're starting to see those repeat customers. But if you had to go back and do anything different, what would you have wanted to maybe hit the ground running with a little better than you previously had?
It's a great question, man. I think there's a couple things. The number one thing, personally, my business partner may have a different answer. For me, I wish we would have cared less about the court surface sooner. We were pickleball guys, or like business turned to pickleball, but again, you're trying to like be perfect. And we spend a lot of money on a bunch of different court types, trying to figure out like how to make the perfect pickleball surface everywhere. And then we realized, then we put a sport court out, on Beale Street or somewhere. And then you realize like, oh, it doesn't matter, because most of these people haven't played before. Or you show up to an event, and then we found Gamma has a librarian ball, it's foam. And so those sport courts that traditionally get a bad rap from the pickleball crowd about the bounce, we're able to use that at a lot of these trade shows that solves the quiet problem, because the conference, people want it to be, quiet. They don't want it to hurt anybody if it hits them. And so this soft foam ball now allows us to use this court surface that's much easier to get around, much more customizable, stuff like that for our, what I would call a standard event. But we spend a lot of money on a bunch of different portable surfaces that just turned out to have just enough of flaws that in the model that just made getting them from point A to point B challenging. And so like some of that stuff just sitting there. And so it is what it is. They're still assets. We don't ship them around and do anything with them because it's too big, or they weigh too much, or it has to be an oversized and it costs a lot more to get it there. There's just a bunch of different reasons. But that would be the one thing, is like we tried to go perfect on surface quality first. And then we realized like that's the court company's jobs, is to figure that out. Like we just need to bring pickleball in as many places as possible. So we've done some stuff where we tape down the lines and just tape on concrete, but we still bring the branded everything around it, custom paddles, staff. And we do a lot with the flex court. One interesting story about that, and this is one of the real reasons we found value with it, is, and somebody listening to this may steal the idea, but it's okay. We showed up to an event one time, and we had the interlocking tile sport court, and it was a trade show in California. And up until like we got there, the expectation that we'd been given was it was on concrete, and we got there and it was on carpet. And so like we walked up to this big carpet spot, like, and so we just kind of like put half the court down, and then we just tested with the ball, the pickleball, and it like didn't bounce. And we're like hours from this gigantic data AI conference starting. And so we were like, okay, option A is pack the court back up. Option B is put the court back down, and then at least it's here. But like it's not going to bounce. Option C is cut the carpet, And so we put the court down, and we're just like, all right, let's just get a bigger piece. Let's try it one more time. Just like maybe if it's bigger, it won't give as much because it's kind of a thick plastic. And so we get it all down. We try the ball again, nothing. And I just like, I don't know why I didn't think about it first, but I realized in my backpack, I had one of the Gamma Librarian, like the foam pickleball. I had one. We bounced it on the court. Perfect. And so I called Gamma, and they overnighted me a whole case of them for this event. And so now what we realized is we can do carpet. And so like none of these other surfaces can go on carpet. And so we can take and go into these hotel ballrooms, and without having to build a huge expensive deck underneath it, like we can bring pickleball in there, and it's fun, and the ball bounces, and it's even kind of more springy than a normal pickleball. So it's fun for the average player. So that's just like one example of some of the crazy stuff that we've experienced. But like why I go back and say I would have stressed less about the court surface, because it turns out the one that was very, very easy for us to figure out, train people on, get it around the country from the get-go, can work anywhere. We didn't have to overthink it. And so, but there's tons of other things, little things that we could have made one little different decision and it could have gone a different way. But overall, I kind of see myself as one of the few people in the world who's done all of these different court styles. And so at the end of the day, there was value from it. I still know how to put those down and install them and maintenance them, and ship them and all of that stuff. So the experience is probably worth it. But yeah, we would have saved, thousands of dollars by not buying, 10 extra courts that ultimately aren't the best ones for the job. But that's part of it. And but yeah, that'd be my main thing, is don't have stress. We were too stressed about the perfect pickleball experience first and not the whole experience. And now we're more about the whole experience, and everything goes really smooth.
Right. That's great. Well, there's always hindsight to learn from. So you mentioned there is a lot of growth ahead. Are there any changes or pivots with the business itself, or is it just getting bigger doing what you've been doing?
So it's the most recent thing. We just partnered with Pickleball. As I mentioned, they're our preferred court surface provider. We just partnered with them. So we're taking on a lot of my crew and installation and event staff. Now we're being deployed in more areas to get more of these pickle rolls down in more of these spots that need them. Because they're manufacturing, so many courts every month, and they're growing pretty fast. And so we partnered there. That's a big change. The other big thing is over the last 6 months, we've been testing out kind of a new arm of the business, if you will. That's kind of it's not a spinoff. It's kind of an extension of what we're already doing. We do a lot of 1 and 2 court rentals, but with Pickle Roll, we used Pickle Roll in our indoor facility. When we started using it in the events, we realized it would stay down if we didn't untape it. And so we used it in our facility, and we love it. And so now, because of that, because we kind of went in a temporary mindset with a technically portable court that's still really high quality, the nets aren't drilled down into the ground, into the concrete, like everything in there could come out if it didn't work. We have a bunch of other entrepreneurs across the country who are calling us saying, can we take this empty retail box in my city, and can we flip it for way less than a franchise into a pickleball facility? And we're like, absolutely. Without a gigantic permanent lease, without, painting the courts. And if it doesn't work, you never get your money back for that surface. And without drilling, I don't know how much it costs to drill your nets down into the ground and drill those fences down into the ground, but temporary barriers and nets that aren't drilled into the ground look fantastic. And so we've gotten a tremendous amount of demand for people that are wanting to do that. And so we helped a group in Calhoun, Georgia, basically use the same strategy that we used to open our club with them. And we did 8 courts and a lounge area and ping pong tables and some arcade games and a pickleball central pro shop, all the same things that we have. And we just have a wholesale relationship with the courts and the nets and the barriers and all that stuff. And so we were able to purchase all that in bulk for them. And my team was on site for 5 days and installed it. And we show up 5 days later, they have pickleball facility and they were able to open their doors. And so that's like the next iteration of the Pickleball Pop-Ups company is now that the events are kind of humming along. We've got the facility, but that kind of runs itself on autopilot. We're all focused on this company. We've got manager and programming and all that handled. But the next iteration is okay, now we're working directly with Pickle Roll to be doing, 8 courts, 10 courts, 6 courts, wherever, plus nets and all that stuff in all these different cities. And so that's the next iteration. We had a call this morning with this group that's really interested, and there's people that just want to pick locations and invest in it and then pay the people. So it's we're kind of catching some of that demand now because we're doing it differently. A group in California is doing 10 courts, but we're using the same pickle roll surface to cover their ping pong, where their ping pong tables are going to go. That surface is still the gritty surface that they would use in professional ping pong. And so they're going to lean into the quality on the ping pong side, on the pickleball side, and then they're putting 2 volleyball courts in, which the interlock and tile stuff we have a relationship with. And so we can install those and purchase those too. So the franchises are getting a lot of demand because of the replicable business model, supposedly. Then we're getting a lot of demand from the independent operator. Maybe we do want to do a bar and Dill Dinkers doesn't do the bar or whatever it might be. And so, or we don't want to do memberships. That's kind of one of the things that we get from the business world is people wanting to invest in it is is there a way to do it without memberships? Because that's what we did it. That's how we did it to get started. And so just seeing that, I want volleyball courts. I want a lot of ping pong. I want some arcade games. We can accommodate that, to help them get it open. We're not promising any operational, we're figuring that out. We're not promising that. We're not consulting on how to run it. We're not doing that. It's helping them get from point A to point B and get something from empty retail bay to, or warehouse or whatever to pickleball facility, fast. And so that's kind of the next phase. We did the first one. It went great. Clients happy. Facilities open. People are loving it. I'm still linked to their Facebook. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff. But yeah, so now we're about to do our second prototype basically of that in California, Northern California. And then after that, we've got 60 or 75 different groups in the pipeline that are interested in doing the same thing. So we need a bigger boat, to my point earlier. And so that's where we are. It's about, we've aligned with the right people. I've got the right people on my team. We've proven what we can do 100 times now. And all of that is kind of just cresting at the opportunity of this next gigantic boom that we're about to see.
That's amazing.
I'm stressed.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure it's good stress, right? And it's good problem, like you said earlier. If it's good problem after good problem, then you want those good problems to keep coming.
Yeah, I've gotten 38. I'm on my Mac. I can see that I've gotten 38 silenced text messages just since we've been here. So if I'm talking long, it's because I'm trying to avoid going to those 38 messages.
Well, congratulations on this great success. It sounds like such an exciting business and so needed in the corporate world too, to bring people together.
I appreciate it. It's a whole lot of fun. I looked back a few months ago at a diary that I'd written 5 years ago. And one of the things on there is I said that I wanted to be building a fast growing company in the sports world. And I about cried when I read it because I was hot damn, this is what you asked for, Jacob. And so this is what you get. And but yeah, doing this has been something that I've been chasing, and so to be able to do it and do it every day, it's amazing. I travel the country. I play pickleball with people. I introduce people to pickleball, and you know, I'm bringing things to life that people never knew existed, and that's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure that's got to be an amazing.
It's like drugs. It's like addicting. You just want to go do the events. And you're like, man, I'm the co-founder of this company. I cannot stand by this pickleball court for 8 hours a day, all week long. Like, but I'm like, but that guy just told me I'm a genius, you know? And so like, you just want to stay around. And so, but it's all fun. And we are very soon going to have a team that doesn't require me to be everywhere.
Right. Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations on that success.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for jumping on to do this episode with us. Obviously, you're extremely busy, but we really appreciate you taking the time to jump on here and really explain to our listeners who might not know what Pickleball Pop-Ups is. And, you know, it's great to see the sport exploding in different realms, you know, and in different ways that I doubt 5, 6, 7 years ago anybody ever assumed we would see. So,
right.
Oh, absolutely not. If you'd have told me this 3 years ago, I would have said at pickleball, you know, but no, here we are. Like I've skipped Memphis Grizzlies basketball games for pickleball stuff, and that is something that anybody would have never seen me do, because I just wouldn't have. And now here we are.
Yeah, it definitely. Everybody that we've talked to, it's altered the trajectory of their lives. I don't really know that we've talked to that it hasn't. So
that's a great way to put it. That's a really great way to put it. I haven't thought about it that way. But yeah,
one of the initial interviews we did, I mean, even just with the podcast itself, our goal was to do 12 episodes in the span of a year, drop one episode a month. That was it. Just a little fun passion project. And then we're at 16, 17, 18.
We can't even count.
in
nice.
6 months, we're like backlogged. I mean, but everybody that we've talked to, the key element is that a little plastic ball changed the trajectory of their lives.
I got chill bumps hearing you say that, because it's like, I mean, that's really it. And I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else though. Like this is the next 10 years of my life, unless something crazy happens and we get bought and they tell me to get lost. And so, you know, which again, not a terrible problem, but I just like, I expect that's the only way out for me now. I'm stuck and that's okay. Because playing pickleball all day, you know, my feet are tired at the end of the day, but like as lazy as it sounds, it's fulfilling. Like it is fulfilling getting to connect with people from all these different countries, and all these different like professions, like doctors at one event, and then like lawyers at another event, and then engineers, and then like, you know, dump truck drivers was one of them. And I was like, what? You know, and so you just kind of get to take a peek at all these different worlds that you didn't know existed. And you realize how pickleball can there's a common, I mean, that, yeah, it's mind blowing.
Well, and back to that community side, I mean, I've never seen a sport that brings people together like this. And I mean, I'm big on small mom and pop shops, you know, small mom and pop operations, as far as like continuing to build that community. I think that's something that we've really lost over the past 30, 40 years. It's, you know, everything's gotten bigger and bigger, faster, better. And when you get that, it's great. You know, it's great for business, and everybody strives for a better and better business. But when you lose that community aspect, I think that you're really doing a disservice to, you know, yourself and the community. And man, pickleball just changes that completely.
It does. It is. And but one of the things is, I think it's so much different than like the golf country club world. And that's what when I just look out at the club model, and like, that's just one part of it. You know, the public golf courses in Memphis are just as packed as the private ones. And so it's like, I've always seen this as a community sport and not something that should be behind a wall, an expensive paywall. That's one of the things we've struggled with our facility, is we were like, how do we make this free? How can this, like, you could technically play pickleball in your driveway or in your cul-de-sac or in a parking lot. You know, we've done it. So like, how do we make pickleball free? The pop-up events is a testament to that, because we are adamantly like, no, for the player, it's free. Like, charge a sponsor, you pay us for doing the work, etc. But it's free to the consumer or the player. We tried to figure that out with the facility. And like, we think there's some paths there, but you've got to, when we're building this other company, it's really hard to try to do both of those things and pioneer both of those ideas at the same time. And so, but we do think there's a model where sponsor driven, brand activation driven, free indoor pickleball in these empty retail bays with landlords that want to fill the spot. We think there's there. And we know that it will draw 400 to 500 people a day done right. We've tested it. We just couldn't really like build that out and build out pop-ups. But we think that's the model of the next wave of them, is like, how do we get lower cost? The retail stuff is still empty. If it's not going to fill up, stuff might get cheaper. There's all these different macro variables, but we think like finding the path for the low cost, non-membership, not forced community, that model, plus going big on the sponsorship and event side, that we like that, as opposed to being the country club. We've just kind of been adamantly against like a big paywall just to be able to call yourself a member and then still have to pay for the league and stuff. It's just cheaper. So like we just went about it a different way. Now entrepreneurs are magnetized to that. Some are seen like they just like the way we did it instead. And so that's cool. That's who we want to work with, because we don't have to convince anybody to do it one way or the other. We're kind of magnets for the people who just want to do exactly what we do. And a lot of that is a testament to Connor, my content guy, because he puts it all out there. He's on site, recording, setting up, doing time lapses, all that stuff to get all the footage that we need, to make so people can know what we can do. So It takes a village.
When talk about disrupting the fitness industry as a whole, I mean, if you start getting these pop-ups that are just for free, no membership, and it's just you can come in and you don't have to be a member. You can get on the court, you can play, you can get physically, start to get physically fit, catch that bug. I mean, you can't ask for more. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful to be in this spot, and I know my team feels the same way, because we're all very close. And so exactly what the future holds, don't know. I'm just trying to make sure I've got my hands wrapped around the month of June.
Well,
we do know we're looking at June. That's crazy. But then like August, we're gonna have installed or overseen the installation of over 175 courts in August.
Wow.
And so we are trying to solve what's in front of us while trying to prepare for big jobs like that. And be able to, like, what happens if we get a request for a trade show at the same time as one of these gigantic projects? Can we do it? Can we build a team big enough to do it? So these are all just like puzzle pieces we're trying to move around right now and figure out, but good problems to have. They're fun to work on every day, very fulfilling to solve, because every time a problem solved, my life gets tremendously easier. And so, that's one of the fun parts about business, is I can just continue solving problems to make my life easier. As long as there's business flowing in.
Right, which it sounds like there is.
Yes, we could use more always. We're not going to say no to it, but yeah, we're busy.
Yeah, you got to make hay while the sun shines.
We are capitalizing, not in a bad way, but we are not. We understand the period of time that we may be in, and so yeah, we're not taking advantage, or we are taking advantage of the opportunity that exists right now to build and be the fastest to, where people can't compete with us.
Yeah. Well, both of us are very excited to watch, this continue to unfold. We've been following it for a while. Again, thank you for jumping onto the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob.
No, thank you for having me. I love doing this. I love it. I do. And we're looking for people to work with us. I'm looking for people that want to be on events and want to help do these installs and like all that stuff. And so anytime that I get to talk where somebody can listen and might tell somebody about what we're doing, that might get me somebody interested, it's worth it to me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we will definitely push this out to our audience, and you have a great story, and we're super excited to be able to be part of it to tell it. So
thanks, y'all. This has been great. This is fantastic. I appreciate you guys having me.
yeah,
Absolutely. Thanks, Jacob.
thank you.